how does your major shape your college experience? Not only the social life, but also the academic life. I'll go to Lester for this.
Thank you, Ben. How did my major shape my college experience? I would say my major helped to make, in my undergrad, it helped to make my experience a little more specific. I was put into a program where my program, if you wanted to study the biological sciences at all at Rutgers at the time, I had maybe 600-700 students that I kind of started with taking those basic classes. But those were largely the students I interacted with. Those were the students that I ended up, when I would have to choose courses, I would choose that's another difference too between high school and college. I'm sure everybody knows you will choose your own class schedule. So I would have to choose it on the basis of my major courses and kind of pick my electives and arts and everything like that around that. But I found that because everybody was taking the same major electives, we were also taking the same minor courses. We were all taking the same liberal arts courses as well. So I would say when you start to differentiate and pick a track in college, it starts to kind of narrow down the circle of people you're really going to be interacting with. So as a STEM major, I met a lot of very interesting people. I would say we worked pretty significantly with a lot of the engineering students in the engineering program, particularly in the math classes. And I would say too that was a unique experience because the engineering students at Rutgers a lot of them wanted to do a startup. A lot of them wanted to do something very different than what people in my traditional set of classes wanted to do. So I would say my choosing a STEM major helped to put me around and forced me to really socialize and sort of think and, kind of share different opportunities on campus like hackathons and stuff like that with similarly interested people, but also through encouraging this sort of interaction, I had an opportunity to form what I would consider stronger relationships and stronger bonds with my cohort, for example.
Great. Thanks for the anecdote and the insight there. I'll pass it off to Andrew.
So I had two majors. One of them was economics, and one of them was called environmental analysis and policy. In my economics major, I would say the Boston University econ department, as are the econ departments at most undergraduate schools, are really, really big. So if you're majoring in econ and econ only, you're going to have a really, really big department. I don't think having a gigantic department is super conducive to making friends for me because I like to interact with smaller groups of people. I'm not saying that you should choose your major based on how big it is and how you're going to make your friends, but that is something I noticed. And the econ kids also happen to be a little bit more business oriented and competitive. In my earth and environment degree, people were a little bit less business oriented and competitive. And also it was a smaller department and everybody kind of had a really unifying interest. So basically all of my friends were in the earth and environment department and not the econ department. As far as academics, the econ department had like a lower curve. I don't know if you all are familiar with curves. You probably like had exams in high school that are curved a little bit, but it's just the exam. In college, a lot of the classes will be curved. So your final grade will be on a curve. And most people will get like a B and some people will get an A and some people will get like a C. My curve in econ was about a 3.0. So all of the econ classes, the average person would get a 3.0, which is like a B. And in the earth and environment department, it was a little higher. So that also shaped people's college experiences because some majors in college are less difficult with regard to grades than others. It would be ill-informed to say that some are less difficult than others because all majors have different activities that they do, but definitely the average grades in different majors are different.
Great, let's go to Sagar.
Yeah, I think that depending on your major, you're going to be interacting with obviously particular cohort of students throughout your years in college, but also you're going to be interacting with some professors in that major, right? So obviously you can take classes outside of your major, outside of your primary discipline, and you can meet other professors there. But for the most part, a lot of the professors you're going to be meeting are those in your major. So a lot of opportunities and say to get involved in research, right, with your professors is going to be really dependent on what classes you take, right? So if you're an economics major, you are going to maybe have an easier time. And also, by the way, you're going to probably be getting emails from advisors and things like that. Maybe you have an advisor in your major department. Maybe, you know, you're going to be getting newsletters and stuff like that. You're just going to be in the know with respect to opportunities that are related to your major. So I think it not only shapes your academic experience, but it also shapes a lot of your extracurricular experience if you allow it to. Obviously, you can like, you know, roam outside your major in both in terms of both academics. You can take classes outside of your major, and you can also meet people, meet professors, cold email professors maybe outside of your major if you want to get involved with their work. And also you can be involved in other clubs and organizations that are have nothing to do with your major, and that can be a great way to explore your interests. But I do feel like you know, you sort of do get pulled into a lot of opportunities that are related into your major. So I think your major does shape your academic, extracurricular, and your social experiences a lot.
Great. Lastly, we are going to go to Vedika. Now, Vedika, you go to a large public school, which means it's different, right? The major departments are bigger, classes sizes are bigger. So let's talk about the not only how does your major shape your college experience, but also the difference between public school and private.
Yeah, for sure. So I came into Berkeley as a business major. I was in a global business program, which was essentially was a 4-year business program where you got to study abroad in London your first semester. And so I kind of coming into Berkeley, I had a very small private school style experience. There was 28 kids in my cohort. We studied abroad together. We got to know each other very well. And so I got that experience. I got back to Berkeley on campus in the spring, and this school is huge. There are so many kids here. And I think that I got to see like the other side of the coin. I also ended up adding a second major for data science. And at Berkeley, the business major is like generally pretty small. You get to know other kids in the business major pretty well. And so that's like a more cohorted experience. And then the data science department is one of the biggest majors at Berkeley. So there's a lot of kids in your major. And so I think that the biggest difference kind of that I felt between business and data science is that in data science, you have to do a lot more to get support from academic advisors, faculty, professors. You have to be your own best advocate. So if you need something, if you need help in a class, if you are stuck, if you don't know what classes you need to take to graduate, you have to go out and seek it. In business and within the program, we have our own advisors and stuff like that, and people who are kind of keeping their tabs on you. And so you're able to get help more readily and without having to kind of advocate for it yourself. But I think a lot of people shy from like large public school experiences. But I think that there's a lot of cool things to gain from both. I think definitely in the more fast-paced, large kind of major experience, you learn how to push for your own best interest and really speak up when you need it. So I think that I've enjoyed kind of both sides.
How has the college experience shaped your pathway? I'll go to Lester for this one.
Thanks, Ben. I would say sort of to integrate a lot of what all of us have been saying and to kind of bring that together. My college experience has kind of helped me define the core skill sets I want to bring to an organization. And my work experience, as well as continuing to communicate with career services, has helped me define and chart a pathway to where I ultimately want to go. So in my undergraduate, for example, I did cell biology and I did neuroscience. In my graduate degree, I did general and business management. And the logic behind that was when I was just entering my idea of career when I was 18, I had the sense that I wanted to work in healthcare. So in talking to professors and talking to career services and talking to mentors, I had this idea that, okay, I need to have a baseline of scientific knowledge to really, to, have more options in this field to sort of see what I like, whether I wanted to continue on that road or take a different road. Sorry, the light is catching my eye. As I After I graduated, I had an opportunity to kind of take a deep dive into research and decided that wasn't really where I wanted to go. I wanted to have a more social aspect to my career. So to kind of remedy that, I started talking to people again and started putting together an idea of what skill sets I had to gain to have a more social career. And I came to understand that one of the better pathways for that was through project management experience. So getting experience managing complex stakeholders, complex groups of people, sometimes across countries, to make sure that projects can actually happen and deliverables can be met. And when I got to the experience of, okay, now I have a core scientific knowledge and now I have project management experience, what I wanted next was the opportunity to kind of better understand how I can really work with different people, how I can lead teams, how I can push people to do more than they thought they were capable of. And that is what ultimately pushed me towards Harvard. That kind of idea that the next skill set I have to work on is, the experience of learning how to manage complex people and stakeholders. So I would say, to wrap it all up, the college experience was instrumental as sort of serving as kind of a reference of what I needed, and then taking it to the next level of finding mentors, finding people, finding professional organizations that could help me define better what I wanted to do. It became a thing of the colleges helped me discover the vocabulary. The mentors helped me articulate on the vocabulary and really effectively communicate how I want to handle my career and how I want to develop in my career. And in that sense, my college experience was definitely critical in that, to at least to get the ball started.
Great. Thanks so much for the anecdote and also the insight onto your career. Let's go to Vedika.
Yeah, I think that when I thought about my career, like before college, I thought of it as a straight line. So I came to college studying business, so I imagined that I would go into banking or consulting. So throughout college, I would do like all the banking consulting clubs, and then I would apply for banking consulting jobs, get the job, and kind of ascend through the corporate ladder. When I got to college, I think that the experience was a lot less linear than I thought it would be. There were so many very diverse opportunities, and I didn't want to kind of stick to that kind of linear career pathway that I'd imagined for myself. I started going to different clubs, taking classes, even though they didn't fulfill any major requirements, just to kind of get a sense of these of the different fields that were out there and available to me. Um, I ended up, adding the double major in data science. I got a lot more interested in technology and things like that. And I think that now, in terms of when I think about my career, I think about it as more tech driven. I think about it as more innovation and entrepreneurship driven. And I think about it as a lot more uncertain, where I'm not sure exactly where it will take me. And I think that I became a lot more comfortable with that ambiguity in college.
Awesome. Let's go to Sagar.
Yeah, so I think what everyone else said is very interesting and definitely holds true. And I just want to add that, going back to the fact that there's so many opportunities available in college to sort of explore your interests. You know, Personally, I think I kind of already knew what I wanted to do, and I've been following along that pathway. But I'll just add, for others, I feel like there's ample opportunity to sort of discover what you want to do, whether that be through taking classes, speaking to professors, having professors be your mentors of sorts. Or even, NYU in particular has this entrepreneurship lab. They call it the E-Lab. And basically, I didn't know about it at the start, but I found out that if you go there, people that have started their own startup, there's like a a board where they put up a bunch of post-its. And if they're looking for someone, like if they're looking for someone to maybe develop their website, if they're looking for someone to maybe handle a project, something of that sort, they'll post that opportunity there and you can reach out to them. So again, I would just be on the lookout for certain opportunities like that that can help you maybe further explore some interests. Even if you have maybe even a tiny shred of interest in something, maybe go about seeing if you can go further with it by definitely checking out what opportunities are available on your campus. So yeah. I personally, I kind of already knew what I wanted to do, but that's my suggestion for others.
Awesome. Let's go to Andrew.
Yeah, my answer is going to be like an anecdote that kind of relates to Vedica's conversation that she was having. When I was 18 and a freshman in college, I joined like the environmental student organization, and we were doing a lot of work at the time to try to get Boston University to divest, which is divest from fossil fuels. So universities have endowments, which you might have been researching, and they invest those endowments in things. It's like a big bank account that they have. And a lot of their endowments are invested in things that may or may not be like socially responsible. And there's been a lot of progress recently. At the time, another thing they were doing on a similar vein was they were working on, this all happened before the divestment, was they were all working on university kind of electricity purchase plans. So in 2017, Boston University decided that they were going to purchase all of their electricity needs from a wind farm, and there was like a big finance agreement for that. And I was kind of part of the club that was the student activist group pressuring the university to do that. And it ended up that the brokerage that was brokering the deal between BU and the wind farm the guys from there started a new startup in the fall of 2018 when I was starting my sophomore year, and they needed interns. And so I didn't apply to anything, but they emailed me and they were like, do you want to work here? And I was like, okay. So I had like a really cool paid job going into my sophomore year that I hadn't gone looking for. And it was in like clean energy finance, which I think is really cool, but I didn't know I wanted a job in it. So I hadn't applied to anything. And I had a really good experience. I was working there for the whole year. So my summary on this is just do things that you enjoy. And even if they're not like job oriented, you'll always end up meeting people who may or may not start to respect you based on the things you do in whatever capacity and whatever activity you're doing. So it's important to just like always try to represent yourself in a really nice way. And then sometimes career opportunities just kind of come to you.